Productions.
I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
What the fuck is up? Welcome to another Already Dead. I'm joined as always by Austin Picard. Get the fuck out of here, Jules. Just kidding. Obviously, Jules is still with us, the voice of God, the producer extraordinaire.
What's up, folks?
He will be the one who also enables you beautiful people to talk to us in the second half of the show. I will let you guys know I do not have a post-mortem for you guys this week. Our video guy took the week off. It's okay. He submitted. He had the applicable PTO. It's okay. Don't worry about it. No one's in trouble. So we're just going to have some weird, awkward transition in the middle. And we'll say, hey, we'll go into calls at some point. About 45 minutes in, we'll give Jules the clearance to send you guys out the links. We'll put that out in all the chats and on Jules' Twitter. And you guys can join us. But if you were patrons of me or Austin, you would already have that. And you would have already been hanging out with us in the pre-show, just chilling, which they're apt to do and hang out. And you also get your own little private chat. You get to see the beautiful little things they have to say to us. Like, for example, we have someone that said N-word. And we also have in this chat, it's the Jews. So these are the kind of beautiful things you guys could get if you paid me or Austin $2, him $3 because he's a Jew. But Austin, it's a pleasure to be back with you. It's been a week. It's been a wild week. It's always now that we don't do the morning show, it is always kind of like I have to like reorient my head to be like, all right, Already Dead. I have to like think I've already done like probably 5 shows, more daily shows. So I'm like, wait, fucking. What did we talk about last? But a lot has happened, and it seems that's the going trend now. Now that we do these morning shows, it's like every time we reconvene, we have a lot to talk about. And that is, there is no exception to that
Y'all
case.
quit doing the morning dump?
Jules, where
this is
the
our
fuck
producer, everyone.
Yeah, this is our dude. This is
Dude,
no, we didn't stop doing the morning dump, you goofy fuck. You stoned bastard.
No, but seriously, are you saying that that you don't do your morning shows anymore?
I just haven't been a part of it for a couple of weeks, brother.
Oh, Austin.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, we changed the format because we had the format we were doing the dual streaming thing. It was kind of a bit of me and Austin's thing. Austin backed up so that he could reorient his time, so he could put out more episodes. I think that was 4 weeks ago. He still hasn't got an episode.
No! Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me. I told you I overscheduled myself to such an extraordinary degree as far as like these interviews I was accepting, and then I'm trying to, the way that I go about my process. Like I'm finally in the middle of essentially like my goal is to have it done by the weekend. So. the Atlanta child murders case. I'm deep in the darkness and attempting to drag myself out of it, honestly. And I did an interview last night, and effectively, I could not stop just continually bringing up the Atlanta child murders. Obviously, it's very much, as far as it's been kind of taking over my life in a way, as far as I didn't realize what I was getting myself into once again, and and realizing the depth of connections. Like, in no way was I prepared. And once again, like, we're talking like there were an additional 30 murders that weren't a part of the official case. And when you consider the fact that Wayne Williams was only tried and convicted for the murder of 2 adults, and then after he's convicted, which basically, if you consider the fact that the FBI, once they involved themselves, they effectively fabricated this forensics evidence, right? This insane pattern that they continued to point to, which was this fabricated fiber evidence from the FBI laboratory, and they were solely relying, right, upon like just the reputation, right, of basically the FBI scientific lab, and how they really didn't even release the Brady files to the defense until just before, so they didn't have the ability to even kind of effectively.
Wait, what year was this?
So 1979, it spanned 2 years. 1981,
Okay. All right.
yeah.
I can't remember if it was later, because I know in the 90s the FBI crime lab had a huge scandal showing how completely and utterly bullshit it was.
Right.
It was post OKC, so I didn't know if that was okay. That was not relevant, but you mentioned them, and I was like, oh, that's funny.
It's crazy.
That bastion of forensic science.
I'm telling you, man, like it is insane once you start to get into just the extraordinary details involved in this case specifically, and how they really, relied upon this prestige, this right, kind of like delusion, this illusion of prestige that the FBI laboratories were kind of exploiting for their own benefit in the moment. And once you realize like the level of political connections, like I honestly don't know if Wayne Williams committed any of the murders. I'm being honest at this point. I'm very much questioning all of this, and I believe that he was definitely a pedophile who was procuring children for a network, and using the Gemini Group as a musical talent spotter to effectively claim he's placing these children on a path to stardom and celebrity, and he's identifying these characteristics in them, and in reality, it was obviously just a pedophile ring where they were conducting, child pornography, snuff films, many different things in regard to the enterprise, and what I didn't realize was the level of ritualistic murder that are involved in a lot of the snuff films that are then, produced and facilitated within the context of the network. And that's what's really the darkest aspect of all of this, and again, I've said this many times. You lose a piece of yourself in cases, man. You don't resurface whole. It takes a part of your soul. And as much as like for my own well-being, I'm going to have to pivot a little bit after this one.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
I think there's I know we us parapolitical guys bring this up a lot. This skirt, delving a little bit into darkness, and it's getting kind of fucked up about it. And don't get me wrong, I do think it's like, there is a healthy balance, but I also think to some extent it's almost like, how do I put it? It's because that almost frames it like it's a bad thing. And I guess, like, yeah, if you are like going through this sort of weird gory material to get some sort of odd perverse joy out of it. I mean, obviously, I guess there's an interesting joy in sort of solving a puzzle. So, like, yeah, there is like a concern, but I do think there's something to the actually digging into this fucked up stuff. And I mean, we do get sad about it, and I know something about that. I think is almost like we're working a muscle, and I think it's almost a good thing, actually. So,
definitely.
I mean,
I just think the overexposure, the way that I go about my process, it's not healthy. It's a little unbalanced, and and this is me personally. Like I need to reconsider how I do this, but at the same time, it's like I feel like I have to get in terms of understanding the individuals the dynamics, the characters involved. I feel like you have to become so close to the material itself, some of the source material, that it begins to. It's literally some every time when I'm getting to the tail end of one of my solo projects, I'm legitimately waking up as the first thought in my mind is where I'm at in the case, and as far as just attempting to once again, how exactly can I organize these conceptual thoughts, and place them in this kind of comprehensive outline, to where people can fall down this rabbit hole in a way to where they come out the other end feeling as if it were worthwhile, and I didn't linger on too many of the disturbing details for
You
just
should do something fun for this next one. Something
that's what
like
I'm saying, man. Yeah.
Not like fun, but something that's like I don't know, like a Seth Rich murder, or
right.
like
Even,
something like I mean, I'm not saying that's like, oh cool, Seth Rich died, but just something that's like a little bit more pop, a little bit more like not a little bit more
right.
just like, oh, this guy died, isn't that crazy, and like what really happened here, and like, isn't that nuts?
Right.
Like a Clinton death count episode or something, although that could get really fucking dark too, so
Right. And I am worried about the main thing is Iran Contra. I this is where it's
that'll
leading
get
me.
dark.
This is where it's leading me. I'm
Yeah.
realizing that Iran Contra is really just a window into this dark underworld of the nexus, right? The enterprise that we consistently realize is being facilitated under our own, very like in front of our eyes and under our nose, and
Well,
we
you've
can't.
never done a Contra episode, right?
Yeah. I mean, definitely, I've covered it many times, but I haven't quite like focused entirely on that specifically. It's just come up in passing, like with Danny Casalero's
Well, there you go.
Octopus, and you're right, and these various.
That wouldn't be bad. Iron Contra thing, it comes up a lot, but I don't ever see anyone ever actually really do episodes on it. So it's almost one of those things that people just assume what the fuck. So it wouldn't be that bad for you to almost do like go back to basics and do like almost an Austin 101 underclass episode of like the early episodes, and just do like an Iron Contra. Wouldn't be so bad. Just to kind of cleanse the palate type deal.
Yeah, I'm definitely in need of that as far as just. But I will say that it's just fascinating the fact that there's a reason that I continually am falling down these particular paths, because they're just presenting themselves in overlapping threads within the context of all the different solo projects I've been covering recently. I had no realization that even within the context of Son of Sam recently, I just found out, this is crazy, that you have like this neo-Nazi murderer associate of Berkowitz, right? His name's Fred Cowan. And this guy was a part of the National States Rights Party.
Cowan or Cohen?
It might have been Cohen. But again, I need to hear. I need to hear a lot of the names.
Name.
But yeah, I think it's Cowan. It's definitely COWAN.
That's
so
a
it's
small
not
hat name.
COH. Yeah.
It's a small hat
name.
Right.
But yeah, so still, it's crazy because the Process Church basically is it's interesting because it's said that essentially, when we're discussing this strange airport that comes up in the context of the Son of Sam and the Atlanta child murders, it was being utilized. This was in the Alex Constantine archive that I discovered this. It blew me away, and I didn't realize that there was this plane crash that happened in Miami, and basically it exposed this illicit CIA arms trading that was being conducted, and it proved out that effectively there was a hub at Hartsfield International Airport in Atlanta, Georgia, where these illicit weapons flights to Central and South America were being utilized and facilitated. And then, so that all comes up within the context of the Atlanta child murders, which didn't surprise me at all. But still, knowing how much the process uprooted from upstate New York directly after the David Berkowitz Son of Sam killings, and then, cropped up and resurfaced in Atlanta directly after this. That's what kind of like caught my eye instantly, right? Because these airports are really came up in the finders too, and with Franklin, where they're very close to these military air bases, and they are utilizing these private airstrips. It's interesting, but it's the playbook of kind of domestic operations and how they're being conducted on a daily basis.
What's the one that people fly out of? There's that the Area 51 one.
Oh yeah.
I was just kind of made me think of. Can you imagine if really like those like Area 51 planes, it was just like actually some crazy fucked up shit like that instead, like, oh no, we're going over to the child rape fucking military base. That's what we're doing. Like I don't know, just it would be. That's exactly what they do. They'd lie and be like, "Oh, that's where the super secret alien place is."
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like, no, they're fucking kids,
right?
Like,
And you know, by the way, Mitch WerBel, right? Who was allegedly
in everything that glows.
Yeah, he really was.
With Satanism involved. Weirdly,
it's so crazy.
You look at him and nothing about him looks like he would be the guy that pops out in every. He looks like just like he looks like he would be like I don't know. He's like a Fetterman archetype looking type guy. You know what I mean? Like he just looks like a chud. You know, he just.
I found out how. I'm pretty sure I know how he died. By the way, which is crazy.
Wasn't he poisoned or some weird shit?
Yeah, definitely poisoned.
Yeah.
And but I'm pretty sure I know who did it. And it's interesting because but apparently this came up too in the context of the Atlanta child murders. Obviously, Wayne Williams was allegedly trained at this CIA training camp that Mitch WerBel was running outside of Atlanta. But when he was like 17, he was recruited or something. But still, the point being is that during the Atlanta child murders, you have these fatigue-clad mercenaries from Mitch WerBel's Cobra School for Counterterrorists, right, near Marietta. They spent several weekends searching for evidence and a contingent of guardian angels who self-proclaimed themselves guardian angels, and the Bat Patrol, who were just walking around the streets of Atlanta with these bats, like patrolling the streets. And yeah, the self-proclaimed citizen protectors of New York streets and subways came to Atlanta to organize a youth force, which I found interesting that all of this was happening during the Atlanta child murders. So, but you know, to me, it feels like they were probably covering up their tracks to a certain level, because I think that there were all of these search parties that had been involved at the time, and I think they had operatives or assets that had infiltrated the search teams, and it's really strange. One of them was actually a trained Alsatian German Shepherd dogs. Right. And so it came up in the context of these animal ritual sacrifices that were happening in terms of some of the murders that were being facilitated in the Atlanta child murders that were being produced in snuff films, basically. But they were discovering like all these strange ritual murder sites. But it is crazy that during the Cotton Club murders, that is when apparently you had this Beverly Hills security firm. There's an individual named Arthur Michael Pascal.
Which, just to back up, Cotton Club. I always want to call him Cottonmouth for some reason. But the Cotton Club murders, to back up, those are ones I know that come up frequently, and I think we kind of just assume the audience knows. Those were, if I recall correctly, I believe the Cotton Club was a famous kind of a Hollywood-ish type esque club of sorts that was well known. And so there was murders that occurred there. I forget who was the name. It wasn't like the
Roy
Radin, who was he, some sort of what the fuck was he? He had something to do with like showbiz of some sort. It was very Hollywood-ish.
Yeah, he definitely was. So he was involved with attempting to get these films made, right? Financing the films, the Cotton Club, right? In 1984.
The porn connection.
That was a black club, wasn't it?
Well, he was associated with Larry Flint, right, who was running Hustler magazine, but he definitely was producing child pornography. Roy Radin,
yeah,
right?
There's the porn connections. This is where you get into like fucking what's his name, Larry. When they're like a Larry fucking some, I don't know. There was a few porn kingpins that come up in this one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, it gets crazy because you have this. This connection to this, there was basically this individual that I just mentioned, right? Arthur Michael Pascal, then owner of this Beverly Hills security firm. He testifies that, and this is in the murder case in '89, right? For the Cotton Club murders.
Larry Flint was the name I was looking for. I couldn't think of.
Yeah, that's what I just mentioned. I said Larry Flint, Hustler magazine, right?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Bill Mincer was Manson too, right? He was the hitman who effectively murdered in an occult murder style, right? Occult style murder, right? It was effectively a ritual.
Oh wait, wait. So these are the 3 that are considered the murders. So these are correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or am I retarded here?
No,
Okay.
I'm,
All right.
I'm
Cool.
just
Cool.
saying,
Just
it
Hey, Dana.
fascinated me because there's just a direct connection to WerBel, right? Obviously, to and why wouldn't there be?
I just didn't know we included WerBel in those. I didn't know that was included. I knew Raiden particularly. But
the connection comes with this testimony, right? This that Arthur Michael Pascal testified that effectively this prosecution witness William Ryder, okay, Larry Flint's former brother-in-law and private security agent, he tells him of poisoning soldier of fortune Mitchell WerBel in 1983 in order to take over WerBel's counterterrorist school in Atlanta. And Pascal said that Ryder and Flint poured 4 to 6 ounces of digitoxin, a powerful heart relaxant, into WerBel's drink during a party at Flint's Los Angeles mansion. This is apparently when WerBel, who was a security consultant for Flint at the time, had died of a heart attack at UCLA Medical Center a few days later. So I don't know. It seems like that's for certain to me. That seems to pan out as a legitimate, plausible narrative, right? So who knows? But I do think that these domestic training sites that are being utilized as, to honestly, I mean, all I ever think back to is like Henry Lee Lucas and Otis Toole and the Hand of Death and the Matamoros killings and the Finders, who were apparently heading down to Mexico with those kids, which, yeah, they could have been heading to a Jesuit institution to potentially auction off the children. I mean, that's all I'm saying is the reality then. And I've read that those potential, allegations are out there as far as, I think they have
back up real quick. I do want to take a moment just to, I think we did kind of point this out to the audience, but I do think it's worthwhile mentioning that the Cotton Club murders is really where the component of the porn industry really rears its head in like what role it plays into this whole giant network. Because it is like, we've talked about on the morning show, and I've talked about the tunnels in the the Playboy Mansion and stuff like that. I'm not saying necessarily that was, particularly, I don't know to what extent Playboy was doing stuff. Obviously, we have Larry Flint with Hustler here, but it just obviously the facts seem to heavily insinuate some shit was going down in a lot of these major porn industries like Playboy, like Hustler.
Well, you do have the tunnels under the Playboy Mansion.
That's what I just said. Yeah. So I do think it's interesting to just kind of see. It's just weird how it just everything comes back to everything connecting, and it's just weird. Just as a little boy, you were stealing nudie mags or whatever, and it's like, yeah, well, that fucking dude who made that shit was probably fucking trafficking kids to fucking high level elites and tied into. I mean, it's just crazy how that you can connect strings from fucking Playboy to next thing you're at the Catholic Church to Opus Dei, that's kind of being the guiding hand of Gladio operations, and it just goes from one crazy fucking dot on the schizo map to another.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and man, it's interesting because clearly you had snuff films that were a part of the Hand of Death and Otis Toole and Henry Lee Lucas, and the Manson family, they had snuff films apparently that they were involved with, that even I think Ed Sanders it was that said that the films were depicting like both human sacrifice and animal ritual sacrifice as well, where you have like headless cats and they were like blowing cats up with firecrackers and shit. Like it was really crazy stuff. And then you had like at one point there was even apparently there was like a woman who was decapitated, who was lying on a beach, right, surrounded by like figures in hooded robes and shit, and they were like throwing blood on the corpse. And yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. I didn't even realize that how much You know, there's, and by the way, Manson too, William Mincer, right, who's connected in with.
I'm gonna need a little source in this one about. I'm not saying you're lying, but I do want to fucking know the sauce on hef banging dogs.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I would be surprised, I guess, but I have not heard that one.
I mean, apparently, it was Berkowitz, right, who told. Basically, he mentioned to individuals in prison. Apparently, this is where this source comes from, that at least one of the attacks, which was the shooting of Robert Vellante, I think is how you pronounce it. Can't remember, but him and Moskowitz, right, Stacy Moskowitz, that obviously was recorded, and Berkowitz himself told Maury Terry that, as far as like he believed that it was being recorded, and in the van was positioned right where they had a couple of, at least I think he even mentioned 3 people who were in the van potentially recording the snuff, and I think that was outside of the Elephas Club. I can't remember if that's where that murder took place, but once again, the occult connotation of Elephas, right? As far as like this to me, you know, is undeniable. It's obviously not a coincidence, but it's interesting because this recorded snuff film of the Moskowitz murder, apparently this was ordered by who Berkowitz called Mr. Big, right? Which was apparently a private collection for the Satanist that they called Mr. Big, who was later identified as Roy Radin. So that makes a lot of sense because Berkowitz, he like, it's crazy. He was predicting murders, right? Before they were even. It's interesting to me because Wayne Williams, the same thing. He gets arrested, right? He's in custody, and you still have murders taking place that effectively fit this pattern, that even though there's not really a pattern in terms of the fabricated fiber analysis from the FBI crime lab, still it's like the fact of the matter is you're having these child murders continue after you have the alleged perpetrator in custody. Why is this happening when you have legitimately 3 months before he's ever even arrested and the bridge incident took place, which to me just like screams of a sort of staged arrest. And it's fascinating stuff because you just have investigators and authorities who are involved at the deepest level of the case, who are legitimately, like we're talking, you know, there are newspaper articles being published that are truly, you know, mentioning the fact that they believe at least over 10 perpetrators were as far as there were 10 individuals who were allegedly perpetrating these murders, right? And so that to me, yeah, I don't know, it just seems as soon as the FBI came in, as far as involved themselves, right after the governor's meeting in the governor's mansion with George Bush Sr. as the VP, who flies down to Atlanta, you know, and threatens to cover all of this up. I think it's because we have another glimpse into how they were domestically running these covert operations through. Obviously, they have this hub, one of the Atlanta airports, that they're utilizing for what seems like the playbook of Iran-Contra. We clearly have the Shirley McGill reference in terms of she fits the playbook perfectly. You could compare her. You could put her directly next to Helena Stokely, right, as a criminal informant witness who really basically tells the same story. You know, that was a boyfriend of an individual. Obviously, Helena was involved at a different level, but still, you know, Shirley McGill was effectively like a secretary for this interesting drug trafficking, but then apparently evolved into a child abduction network. And she claimed that her boyfriend, Parnell Traham, right, was very much involved in this, and that he obviously was Parnell Traham, man, this is like the smoking gun as far as in my opinion, in terms of the Atlanta child murders and having a direct connection to David Berkowitz and the Son of Sam, because you have Shirley McGill. She identifies this picture of a man who she refers to as the White Bill. All right, this guy is Billy Dan Parker. That's his name, and he's an Army veteran, right? This is crazy because construction worker from Texas, associate of David Berkowitz. That's who Billy Dan Parker is. And this individual is one of the leaders of the cult group in Atlanta. And they're saying this cult group was an offshoot of the process. And so if that is the case, right, and you clearly have the children in the terms of David Berkowitz and the 22 disciples from hell, and apparently this individual who Billy Dan Parker was even the one who purchased at least one, if not two, of the 44 caliber revolvers that Berkowitz utilized. He purchased them in Texas, and so McGill's boyfriend, Parnell Traham, who happened to also be a Vietnam vet, drug kingpin. He's near the home of one of the two victims that Wayne Williams was convicted of murdering, which was Jimmy Payne, I believe. So I don't know, man. Like, I think when you have an individual who's directly involved with the Atlanta child murders, who's a close associate with David Berkowitz and is allegedly running a local chapter of the process in Atlanta during the Atlanta child murders. And Parnell Traham is like from Miami, who comes up. He's like a cab driver. He's effectively facilitating the network. At the very least, he's at a lower level. He's involved with facilitating the drug trafficking, at least from Miami through Atlanta, these various locations, and he began to abduct children, and he was apparently Shirley McGill was like questioning if he was truly involved until he predicted two of the deaths that then happened, and then she went to the authorities. She was freaked out. She said her boyfriend hated children, was performing occult rituals as he murdered them within the context of certain snuff films for the local child pornography that was being produced in the area. And so this was definitely a network, a child pornography ring, abduction network that was clearly involved at a level with the Odyssey Foundation as well. When you bring in Michael Thieves and you have even members of the Finders, right, purchasing children from the Odyssey Foundation and the Delta Project. So yeah, at this point, man, like snuff films are in no way an urban myth, right? Like, this is a major part of the criminal enterprise being conducted by what I view to be, in more ways than one, intelligence affiliated, right, assets that are being utilized and hung out to dry. At the very least, most of them seem to, get off on certain small charges, criminal charges, because they are criminal assets in this network. Same thing happened in Fort Bragg. So I'm just like, I can't believe how identical this all is. And yeah, and the fact of the matter is, like, it still blows me away that John Markham consistently revealed himself so very often, as far as, like, right, he helps incorporate the process in San Francisco, and he was on the defense team of Jeffrey McDonald. Like, are you kidding me? You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you can't have this. This isn't a coincidence. Like, why is Alan Dershowitz on his defense team, man? Like, I don't know. And so, yeah. Anyway, I could definitely talk about.
What we should talk about?
What's that?
That we found out that Austin Powers is a real person recently.
The CIA tours that Diddy's putting on? Is that what you're talking about? That is so funny,
here we go. I haven't actually dug into this like at all, but I've seen some. This is from the Daily Mail. Diddy trial stunned as witness reveals Mike Myers' secret ties to CIA and Secret Service. Live court updates, and then so. Yeah, I mean, I guess with this article, I guess something about, I mean, we'd have to read this article and get into it to give something.
I pulled up the one bit. I pulled it up whenever the homie sent it over to us in the comment, and I have the one part already screenshotted. It's hilarious. But right before I read that part, because it's actually pretty long, dude, that part. Or if you pulled up the whole link, but because it's like a shitload of details. But Dana. Yeah, she's 100% right. Was that the Magical Child bookshop or something that connected Berkowitz, where he allegedly was recruited by members of the Carr family or something? I can't remember the details now, but I'm pretty sure that John Markham was actually affiliated with that bookstore in upstate New York, which is not at all surprising, obviously, because he seems to be almost everywhere whenever he's just resurfacing all over the place. It wasn't the magical child. Okay. Sounds good.
This is one of those stupid articles that's giving the live update, so I have to find the fucking stupid update. Oh,
yeah, it's super annoying, dude.
All right, I don't know if you have it, or if you have. You said you had it or something?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, all right. If you found the specific, so I don't have to dig through all these stupid fucking live updates.
What happened to StreamYard? It's different.
Is StreamYard glitching up right now?
No, it's just like format's different. It's weird.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Y'all should have sent these to me.
Yeah, my bad, dude. I pull up so much shit.
You never know, dude.
Yeah, I never know what we're gonna talk about, and I have like 72 different tabs pulled up too, so it's never healthy.
I have like 10 chats pulled up.
Diddy's attorney Brian Steele showed the jury the resume Mia presented before she was hired as Diddy's personal assistant. Mia said in the resume that she had previously handled all unique requests for Mike Myers. She said she once set up a private and confidential tour of the CIA by corresponding with Secret Service agents and government officials.
Secret Service, Jose.
Yeah, CIA told the court last week that she worked for Myers as well as Harvey Weinstein's ex-wife, Georgina Chapman, before she was employed by Diddy. So Myers and Harvey Weinstein's ex-wife. Myers famously visited the CIA headquarters in 2009, as reported by Entertainment Weekly. The Canadian comedian toured the CIA's museum. Oh, I didn't know he's Canadian. He's totally a fucking glowy. And had lunch with some agents, telling them he was grateful for their service. Myers also paid tribute to his mother during his visit. She was in the British Royal... whatever. Who gives a fuck about that?
Right.
All right. That's
still crazy, right?
Yeah, that's something. Okay.
Now
who
it
knows?
seems like Austin Powers was just the revelation of the method. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, what if it was just studying for his role? Like that's how they sell it. They're like, oh, it's fucking. Oh, I just gotta get in character for fucking Austin Powers. Kind of like, what wasn't it, Homeland that did that shit? They're like, they worked with CIA, which is like, okay, there's something to that. It's fair. I mean, you are like, if you are trying to be accurate to the role, but it's like to do that with Austin Powers is funnier because it's like, I know there's no real like serious like, oh, we really need you to like, get embroiled into how CIA agents live.
I even saw someone mention the fact that there was like an Austin Powers mentioned Diddy in a line in the movie, and I didn't even I don't know. I didn't confirm this, but if that is real, then that is hilarious, and that's interesting that would actually become a part right of the anyway of the actual film itself. It wouldn't surprise me though if like for some reason they were affiliated with some sort of just intelligence background. Obviously they seem to, just all of these different celebrities glow so very often, and it to
it's
me
ridiculous. Like, sorry to be a step on you, but as ridiculous as it was, a little bit silly but there's something too. I think Jules might actually surprisingly have something with the revelation of the method with Mike Myers, because I also forgot someone brought up in the chat. Mike Myers had that show. I never watched it, but I always was like, maybe I'll check it out. He's like, because he's like kind of mildly funny, and I liked Austin Powers, but he has this show called the Pentaverate that was a kind of about the Illuminati, and I remember seeing trailers for it, and it looks. He's playing all the different versions. I think there's like these 5 heads of the Illuminati, and they all like control different different. But and it's like he plays a different version of each one. It's kind of funny, But I don't know. I never watched. Obviously, I just saw the trailer for it. But yeah,
I found the thing with Diddy on Austin Powers. He falls down the ladder. It's at like the end scene where he's fighting Dr. Evil. I can pull it up, and he pulls down Dr. Evil's pants, and he has a tattoo on his butt that says Diddy.
Shut the fuck up! Pull it up, dog. Pull it up. I gotta see it. I gotta see it. That's amazing, man. Like we don't, dude. Truth is far stranger than fiction, huh? Like I
just
consistently blown away.
Look at this shit.
So it's sideways because
I think I'm not tripping.
They're retarded. But
I think I'm tripping. Does that say Diddy?
That says fucking Diddy.
Holy shit!
It says Diddy on his butt, dude.
What the fuck?
What?
That is amazing.
What the fuck?
Huh.
Crazy.
That is weird. Yeah, that's I don't really know what to make of that other than, well, that's weird.
Did you see this lady? who's like, this reminds me of like the Mission Impossible movies, because I thought it was so ridiculous when I saw the skin mask back in the day, until I obviously I saw that woman who had briefed George Bush Sr. years ago. I had noticed that she like presented herself as like a Latino woman or some shit, and to George Bush Sr. as she's sitting there in the Oval Office, and apparently they were attempting to actually gain funds, some sort of funding for this covert, mask manufacturing for these covert operations, sort of thing, right? Like, because she was apparently running this mask program. I forgot what it was called, but I'll pull it up in a moment. It's interesting because she was creating this interesting, like, state-of-the-art mask technology that she was utilizing that was like cutting edge at the time. And this was I pulled her up because she's a former CIA chief of disguise. That's what she's called. And she 100% like proves out the fact that they legitimately have like the Mission Impossible mask, right? And this is very interesting. You can actually watch it as she and I'll pull up pictures here in a second. But this is a hilarious segment because she's clearly trying to sell a book. I didn't know she's also connected to Argo, the actual story of Argo, right? Her husband's also like CIA, obviously. And so I thought it was kind of hilarious that these stories obviously overlapped, but this is crazy here. So at least look at it for a moment, because I kind of thought it was hilarious. And once again, it just reiterates what we're kind of discussing in this moment, which is obviously,
Mission Impossible is known for especially.
I think there's definitely some sort of revelation of the method, asymmetric warfare playing out at every level, fourth and fifth dimensional warfare. I think that, again, we can't trust our own eyes, right? And if we can't see AI videos as they're evolving in this very moment, it's kind of getting a little bit out of control already, I would say, in certain ways. And pretty soon it will be uncanny. Like, honestly, it truly will be. And what do we have? Dark MAGA technocracy, Palantir world order, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's
real quick, before you start this, Jules, can you, while we watch this video, can you go ahead and send out the links for the call-in? Also, if you want to start coordinating with our patrons back there and see if any of those guys want to join. Obviously, they get priority. We got a good, large handful of them back there right now. So if you want to ask them and see if anyone want to come on, I know some of them just like to hang out behind there, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. But also for those, non-payers, we're going to put out the link so you can join. I don't know. You might only have to wait for
at Graypilled Pod
with an E, because I don't know why, but yeah.
Got some Anglo.
Yeah, because we're in England or something.
Oh, dude.
But yeah, let's go and play this.
Have you heard about this? Because researching Atlanta, the case, I found this Nuwaubian Nation, Nuwaubian movement. This it's really crazy. It's this and it has a crazy ass dude. Look at the flag of this. This will blow your mind. Like, check out this flag. Right, look at the compound of this place. They have a pyramid and shit. Like, I'll give you a background really quickly, but look at this flag. It's weird as hell. It's got like a Star of David.
Pride flag for like all the fucking weird nations. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? That's like, what is that like?
They're like a combination. Look at this shit. So, American New Religious Black Supremacist Movement, founded and led by Dwight York, also known as MalachiZ. York. So York began founding several black Muslim groups in New York.
God,
in
is
67.
this the pride flag version of racism? Like,
Look at
this is
shit.
like
Ancient
this flag
Egypt,
is like that,
Islam,
how they have all the
Judaism.
crazy stripes, but this is all of them for like racism though. It's like the opposite. It's but like it's so racism racist that it becomes like essentially woke.
Right. For real. But the fact that he's incorporating all these different traditions and concepts into this what they call this pseudoscientific theory, obviously. He's talking Anunnaki, Nibiru, Sumer, New Age, and other esoteric beliefs, but these are the among the different belief systems. A lot of UFO, like doomsday, strange shit. And he talks about how at one point changed the name to it was once. He says his followers by hand constructed an ancient Egypt themed compound, right? And that is what you have here. Which, look at these pyramids, it's crazy. But I didn't know that.
What was this from again?
So this came up. Hold on.
Shit.
Because this is pretty.
Dude, telling you, this blew my mind. Hold on, let me stop sharing it because I fucked up and I can't get out of this.
What
page.
is going on at that? Looked like a play place, and it looked kind of creepy when you look at all the symbolism.
Dude, just wait.
What the fuck is going on?
Just wait.
Like it looked like a playground, but then you look at it from an aerial view and like this playground's creeping me out.
I'm telling you, man. What the hell? I can't get out of this. Hold on. Let me just pull it back up. Shit, that's annoying. For some reason, I had no X on the picture.
By the way, I see some great. I saw some other content creators there in the live chat. So feel free to join in. I saw JJ Vance from the Occult Rejects. Obviously, we've been bringing up Dana's chats too from Dana Duda. So feel free.
JJ, if you wanna, hop on, man, go to my Twitter.
I had a great conversation with him the other day, and Nick from the Occult Rejects. Dude, it was a lot of fun, man. I really enjoyed talking.
They're good guys. I was on with Nick Sunday.
Oh, I saw that.
I forget what was his name. Headless Giant. Is that what he goes by? Headless Giant.
Headless Giant came on last week.
Does he have like another name he goes by? Because that just seems cumbersome.
Just call him Headless.
Headless. Okay, that's better.
Okay.
But anyways, he came on last week. That was fun. So I don't know. But What?
So here's where it gets interesting. York was arrested in May 2002. In 2003, he pled guilty to child sexual abuse after being indicted on 197 counts of child molestation.
Fucking called it. Show me an
dude.
aerial view of that bitch. I'm like, they're fucking kids there. They're fucking kids there. Yep.
It's sick, man. But this legitimately, this individual has connections back to the Atlanta child murders when they were being conducted. And the fact of the matter is this organization itself somehow is affiliated. And
97 counts.
It's crazy. But by the way,
Can you show that aerial photo again? I want to look at that again. Because it's something about that, just like the colors, the shapes.
Look at this. He's convicted, right?
Yeah.
He's sex trafficking, minors across state lines, convicted, sentenced to 135 years. And so, he's sexually molesting them throughout the entire time, obviously. But that in itself is just like not at all surprised. So this is what is that? Tamaray?
Tamaray, the Tamaray compound.
As it stood in 02.
That thing is
or raw, maybe.
Look at that. That is
that's
creepy.
What is that?
I don't like that. Yeah, but you can see it looks
this is one form of Nuwaubic is a simple substitution cipher.
Oh my God! They had another language that's clearly not even probably. Let's be real. This language probably
fucking Zodiac killers came from this.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is coded. That's all that is just coded language. That way they can clearly. This is goes back to this when we talked about like temple set and stuff. Like, well, what really is this? Like, what really is this? Why do they have a fucking sigils? Coded language?
Well,
maybe there might be something to that. I was more thinking that this is some sort of method for them to be able to communicate and be able to shield, kind of obfuscate things to make it so like, now they have to have a fucking cipher to be able to figure out what the fuck you're saying, So
that's how they communicated in the Delphi murders. You had them utilizing a cipher to communicate in the Delphi murders as far as when they were attempting to abduct children. And dude, I'm telling you that there is a pedophile underworld utilizing Snapchat to recruit abductors of children who are these weird incel types that seem to consistently remember Anthony Shots, right? Look at the picture of that guy, and he's utilizing this fake, a picture of a male model and all this, right? This lifestyle that's lavish and has all these exotic cars, and then he obviously is communicating with these young girls. And within 24 hours of one girl communicating with his profile, some masked figure shows up outside her bedroom window, and he was in communication with the two girls, right, Abby and Libby, just before their abduction at the Monon High Bridge Trail. So, Yeah, Indiana Odinus. I've had a lot of strange neo-pagans reach out to me after that episode and very upset.
Yeah.
They're defending these strange neo-pagan organizations as if there's something worthwhile there, but in a way that seems a little bit dishonest, you know.
All right, what were we talking about before we went in this? I'm not. And by the way, I'm not at all shitting on it. I'm actually very like, whoa,
crazy,
by this
right?
fucking
The
side.
symbolism of that little playground right there.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
Looks
all
like,
I was talking about before this.
Saturnian. Well, it's not a cube, but it looks like the same kind of like insignia that's on the Saturnian cube.
I must know more now, man.
In Mecca, but with the sun surrounding it, maybe.
Dude,
it looks like there's a grand scheme to it, though. Like it probably represents some kind of microchip or something. I don't know.
How have I now? Am I now just hearing about this for the first
part
time?
of the brain? Maybe.
That's how I felt. I just discovered
like this is like I'm just looking at this. I'm like, dude, this needs to be researched. There's so many fucking threads that are gonna totally go off of this.
You saw? I didn't know, first of all, that John Redcorn's
rest in peace, John
Red.
Yeah, he was gay,
bro. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was banging out some
So he
little
got
twink.
No, he was killed for being gay, apparently.
Oh, I thought he got A.
Yeah, it was a crazy story, actually.
Nuwaubian. I've totally heard that come up before. Nuwaubian. I don't know. Maybe this has just come up before, and I just didn't know the lore of it. I swear I've heard Nuwaubian before. It also could be, maybe that's just something that's come up elsewhere. It's got to have meaning. I guarantee you that has some sort of meaning to it. That's probably weird and occulted.
Yep, guarantee it.
Shy wants to come on first, I think, and then we got JJ here as well. So
let's bring Shy on.
Shy on for a second, then we'll bring Jacob on, and then we'll bring JJ on.
This crazy document, bro, about a rabbi who deprograms people in the anti-cult network who helped fund and give Jim Jones his first synagogue.
Yeah. You gotta. How do you un-Jew a Jewing? You need a Jew.
I'm telling you right now, that story is one of the craziest things I've ever come across in my life, dude. Like an actual connection that you have, legitimately, between Jim Jones, the process, Berkowitz, and the Atlanta child murders with Rabbi Maurice Davis.
And Jews.
And Jews. The ADL was like directly involved in all of this. And this Rabbi Maurice Davis, dude, check this out. I discovered this crazy ass, this will blow your mind because I couldn't even believe it. It's so basically the ADL defends Satan. That's this chapter of this crazy document where basically this is from 1990, right? And when you look into what the ADL was up to, organized crime.
By the way, real quick, hey, welcome to the show, Shy. Sorry, Austin was being rude, didn't say hello or nothing.
I'm sorry, dude.
Fuck you, I guess. No, I'm just
man. No, I'm sure.
You can bring JJ in too if you want as well. We could have a party.
Shit. He's in here.
Jacob said he wanted to come on too, so here let's bring Jacob on real fast.
Yeah, we'll have to kick at least one person out, so because we don't want to get this we don't want to get too nuts, too many damn people in here. So, but yeah, we'll have people hang out for a few minutes, and we'll bring in another person.
Dude, this is such a crazy connection, though. But yeah, you definitely have a direct connection in with Son of Sam. And it seems like this guy was he was in upstate New York after he left his Kentucky operation, where he was in contact with Jim Jones. But yeah, we could honestly talk about this one for a long ass time.
Shy,
too.
you got any questions or anything in particular you want to talk about, or just hanging out?
No, I was just saying what's up. No, it's interesting. Okay. I didn't know Dr. Malachi York. I didn't know that his case is like probably the number one case of like the most molestations for one person.
I think
and there's a big claim. A lot of people like to claim that he's being set up because he had a lot going on. I think Wesley Snipes went down there and was training, doing like a militia. Was training people in militia. That's why he wound up having to leave to Africa, because they started hitting him with all that tax stuff because he was
right.
I think he was doing that there. And
Amazing.
Malachi York is a very interesting figure. He was very popular at one point, and then started just getting crazier and crazier because he was just taking all this information and just putting it all together, like everything. He was just mishmashing everything together. And yeah, he was also a singer. He was a singer. He has like albums before all this.
Shit.
Yeah, he's
so hilarious. There has to be something in terms of at least utilizing the organization for a wider network.
Yeah,
So yeah, I wouldn't at all be surprised if that dude took
Wesley
the fall.
Snipes chilling down there, dog. And back to your revelation of the method. You remember that fucking beginning scene of the first Blade movie with the and the fucking like the blood and the fucking and him like killing vampires? It's like, oh well, fucking dog, he was the vampire all along. Like
he was the vampire.
Fucking wild. That Daywalker, Daywalker. That's what it means. There you go.
The blood sacrifice goes all the way back to primitive. It's like right in the beginning of the Bible. They tell you, what God wants. He had two offerings in front of him: the fruit from the dirt and a lamb, basically. And beforehand, he never specified which one was a favorable offering until after the offer was given. He was like, he wanted blood. That's how the story goes. And then it just follows through there. It's, because it's blood is what's needed to atone for sin. So you take your sin and put it into it's where you get the scapegoat from. And Jesus became the ultimate scapegoat, because you have to kill this innocent thing. And after a while, like you just trying to level up, man, it's like, well, what's the most innocent thing you can kill? Well, fuck it, I'll kill God in flesh.
Dude, that's what actually we talked about the other day. Well, when I was on with JJ, was we discussed why did they prioritize the German, right, the Alsatian shepherd, right? Like, and he made the point that someone had alluded to the fact that it's one of the most intelligent dogs, and so that it's the closest to the human intellect that you could basically achieve. And so there was some sort of as far as just that being a more effective
trauma
in terms, yeah.
Which I mean, if it does,
it's God backwards.
It does make sense if you were picking a breed, because Alsatian. I remember who corrected this. Maybe it was JJ actually said it when you were on there. That I believe the Alsatian is just another term for German Shepherd. This is something you get tripped up on a lot, myself included. So, but either way, point being, so German Shepherd. So that puts it in better, and frames it better if you're like, oh, German Shepherd. Like, I've never been a big fan of German Shepherds, but I know, like, you talk to most people, and I don't know why, at least the conception of German Shepherds in most people's mind is probably like one of the more go-to type breeds. For some reason, they think of them as top dogs. They assume they're going to be children. That's the rumor that goes around. I mean, I would think that's probably more applicable to like a chocolate lab or something. But either way, that's the perception people have. So if you're going to pick a breed, that's probably like the breed to pick. And I think there is something too that like there's, if we're talking like occult things, like even just like picking something to make it like a specific thing, I think does also adds a component to it. So like it's almost like, I think it's not like if they had picked chocolate labs, that would have been fine too, but it's just a matter of like they got to stick with something to make it very specific. And honestly, I think there might be something to the fact that we have weirdos like us. So like, why German Shepherds? I'm like, it's just the one that like fucking, it's gonna fuck people up the most. And like we overthink it. You know what I mean? So it gives us this profund. It's almost like a profundity of sorts where you're like, oh my god, what is this? With all occult things, like once the real thing is revealed, you're like, oh, this is really simple and retarded. And you're like, yeah. Like, if you knew this from the jump, this is really simple shit. That's how most occulted stuff kind of seems to be. Once you realize what it is, you're like, oh, this weird, confusing classified ad was just simply an ad where you guys were trying to get boy pussy.
Pussy.
This totally makes sense.
Yeah, we're definitely not talking about the sharpest crayon in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barely.
Well, there's levels to it, you know, with the initiations and stuff. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Jose.
Well, all right. You got anything, Shy? Otherwise, I think we'll boot you. Maybe bring in another guest so we can keep a rotation going.
Keep it going, guys.
Hell yeah! You get that rotation started. I see what you're doing over there, brother. All right, let's bring in the next one, Jules.
Well, we got Jacob here.
Yeah, we do got Jacob. I know.
I think JJ's he's not on camera right now. He said he was smoking a cigarette. So
all right, well then we're just kicking out Shy, I guess. Fuck him.
Well, now we focus on what Jacob has to say.
I know, I'm just kidding.
In the private chat, I threw in Dwight York's music that he did.
Oh shit!
Hell yeah, dude! Can
we get a photo of this guy?
This dude was wild. Like everything he did, like
everything he do it big.
Yeah, no kidding. Like one thing he would do, like
music. Let's get a photo.
His theology would change all the time, but he called it factology.
I got you.
Huh?
Like just everything.
Reminds me a lot of Sabbatean and Processian concepts.
Is he a black guy?
Yeah, this is him.
Yeah,
did you just bring this up and ask, is he a black guy?
I brought it up. I didn't see Austin brought it up.
Okay. Yeah, he's a black guy, Jules.
I can tell.
So yeah, he's actually incarcerated in Colorado's ADX Florence Supermax prison right now.
And
of course,
a ton of kids. That's
and
wild.
that huge compound that you showed, that was down in Georgia, which was his third compound, by the way.
Wow.
Wait, so is this him too? Hold on, Is this him dressed up as like Osiris or whatever?
Yep, that's him.
Hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah,
what the fuck
we was Kangs and
it's crazy because like they
we
got
was
like
Jews.
super militant and like really scary towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had Shriner hats on.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I just
I
just noticed those hats. What the fuck is going on there?
If you dive into like what they believed or like what they believed, I mean they mix like all sorts of like Heaven's Gate ish teachings, like American or Native American teachings. And
even the Ankh symbol isn't that a fucking isn't that like a Masonic symbol like right there?
That's the staff that he has.
Egyptian lore was a big part of his belief.
And the whip, which is also used to portray Abraxas, he's portrayed with a shield and a whip. You see the whip a lot in these ancient.
I'm telling you, the people in the background. I mean, I guess maybe I don't know enough about Shriners or symbology, but that is so on the fucking nose.
It's probably Prince Hall Freemasonry. There's probably a like black chapter of the Shriners.
Well, they were clearly, to some extent. I guess I don't know exactly what the fuck's going on in this photo, but I assume it's something to do with his fucking shit. And then we have a bunch of what looks like some black Masons behind his ass.
There's the stages of the moon, I think, on their hats, and then you see the crescent moon with the sword. So it's Islamic as well. There's a lot to unpack here.
Oh
yeah, for sure. Actually, I don't even think there's really a lot to unpack.
He has the infinity symbol in a crescent moon, and above that, the sigil of Solomon, the Star of David, or Renfam, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, Dwight York is fucking nuts.
He's a high priest.
It's a little strange because it seems like there were a shitload of different names that he utilized for these different fraternal and tribal groups that he was creating, and
one of them was Lodge. Pseudonyms? Is that what you're saying,
dude? One was Lodge 19 of the Ancient and Mystic Order of MalachiZ.
Malak?
Is it spelled Melech or Melach?
It's Malak. It's MALACHIZODOK. And then he changed his name legally in 1990 to Issa al-Hadi al-Mahdi when he was still living in Brooklyn. This is crazy. And then he changed it again in 93, 3 years later, to Malachi York.
JJ's back. Let's bring him up here with us.
What up, dog?
What's up, JJ? Good to see you again,
You're
man.
muted, dog.
You're muted.
Boomer movement.
Greetings, gents. I was plugging away on some other stuff while I was listening there.
Hell yeah, buddy.
You're good. You're good.
How you
What's
doing?
up, man? Glad to have you here.
No, I appreciate it. No, great to join y'all. Yeah, JJ Vance, nice to meet you there, Jose. I think this is the first time we've met.
First time, brother.
Jacob,
hell yeah.
Nice to meet you there, sir.
Dude?
Yeah. Well, I know this is your forte. You're probably like, yo, dog. Yeah, these are some weird Mason fucking shit. What the fuck is going on here? And why is this the first time I'm hearing about it? And am I not nuts for saying, just looking at this and going, holy shit, there's so much fertile ground for a bajillion fucking connections here. I'm kind of losing my mind that I'm just now learning about this fucking place.
Everything you just said, Jose, spot on. And you know, I kind of felt the same way when I first learned about it. About, I don't know, probably about 5 or 6 years ago when I started looking into this cult and all these deep connections, as you're pointing out. It runs deep. So from the Freemasonry stuff, so they have an official approved lodge of Prince Hall Freemasonry called the Nuwaubian Nation Lodge of Freemasonry, and Dwight York was, as you saw in that picture, was the leader of that outfit and may still be today. And I was telling Shy One, he was spot on his analysis, a lot of what he was saying there. I was telling him that in the private chat, because one thing he said was he may have been set up. And again, there's an argument to be made there, but this dude's connected, you know, Chief Blackhawk, Dwight York, MalachiZ, you know, all these things. Dr. York, he had all these names, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's an interesting character.
I do find interesting. He got a bajillion years, but it's like anyone who's read Program to Kill, and you know, even if you just have a cursory understanding of the Epstein case, you know, it's I don't know, it's kind of common theme of these fuckers get hooked up deals, go in and out at their own whims. And just kind of, I don't know, who the fuck's really who's watching these fuckers that are, you know, thrown deep in the dark cells and the keys thrown away. It's kind of like, who fucking knows if they're just chilling, roaming around this, you know, the hanging out in mall kiosks or whatever, you know? Like,
I say the same thing, man, especially about Charles Manson. If you look at Charles Manson, his beard and hair length never comports with the regulations outlined in the California Penal Code there. However, his two associates, Bobby Beausoleil and Tex Watson, you can look at all of their mugshots. They're always in compliance. So you tell me if Charles Manson was in prison, I would argue maybe not.
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't even know there was a rules to your facial hair or, you know, hair in prison. But okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and they're pretty serious about those matters as well. Those you know, the correction system, that is, especially in California.
Have you ever side tangent, but have you ever dug into the Michael Jackson stuff, like theories? And have you ever gone into like you know how like I've heard people say that some of the court stuff was like just a little bit off, and it clearly was like fake. It seemed like it was fake courts or some shit. I've heard people go that route, like there was some weird fake stuff like that.
You bring up some interesting points, Jose, and if I may just introduce some stuff I work on to your audience, and that is the ancient alien cargo cults is one of my main focuses. And, you know, the process kind of falls within that umbrella because OTO, Thelema, Scientology, all these things that they come from, and they have their own alien kind of worship with the Watchers, as I believe as Timothy Wiley puts it, these external beings that live outside the earth that they provide guidance to, right? It's kind of the idea of the nine, you're right? You know, that's the same kind of concept, but it seems, at least, they don't call it the nine, but it's the same general characteristics, right? And you know, one thing with Michael Jackson is he not only grew up in an ancient alien cargo cult, the Jehovah's Witnesses, he then would marry Lisa Marie Presley. She was a lifelong Scientologist, I believe, from birth to death, if I'm not mistaken. Her mother most certainly was, and there's an argument to be made. Elvis was associated with Scientology early on there in the 60s, not the least of which occultism, because he's Elvis is deeply embedded in the Manson.
He wore a cape. He always had a Blavatsky book, usually the Secret Doctrine, like in his clutches at all times, and he would communicate with fucking aliens and stuff, dude. Elvis was an ascended master, so to say. You could argue.
There you go.
Interesting.
Now you're spot on, Jules. Do you know his personal spiritual guide? Do you know who that was?
No.
Was it Blavatsky or some shit?
No, it was the business partner of Jay Sebring.
Wow.
So Elvis was deep into that whole Elvis scene. I mean, there was no Manson. And once I discovered this, I you know, in my research, I discovered someone. Granted, this is a self-published book, and it's a wild statements and theories, but allegedly, the Manson family visited Graceland in April of 1969.
Hilarious. I'm not at all shocked at that, man.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me one bit, dude.
Right.
I'm telling you, man.
And if you think about that, one of the infamous murders attributed to the Manson family before the infamous murders is the murder of Darnell Scott in Ashland, Kentucky, which was Manson's paternal uncle. And,
was that when he
they're
was
in
a
Graceland
kid?
in April, they could be in Ashland in May for sure.
Absolutely.
Wow, dude.
That is crazy, man.
So I think what Michael Jackson is that, all these ancient alien, what I'm getting at, I apologize if I'm long-winded. This network of ancient alien cargo cultists, they like to work together. And I think they have a culture unbeknownst to the public sphere of culture that we see publicly, in general culture and society. And, when you look at Michael Jackson's court case, I think there's a lot to be said about some questions being had there for sure.
Okay, so you're tying that all in and seeing there's a little bit of the occulted type stuff going on, essentially.
Oh yeah, a network that we don't see, publicly, but it exists clearly, right? Amongst
as I was getting at with occulted, and I always use this example because I think it works really well. Is the example from the Eye of the Chicken Hawk, in the classified ads in the back that were clearly like looking for, boy pussy, essentially. That's a great example of occulted. Once you realize it's like, oh, that was just a classified ads looking for, boys, it's like, oh, it cuts out that woo-woo. You understand it. It doesn't, but when it's like, oh, the 9, and we have this whole organization, this is how we disperse information, and you're like, oh my God, this is so wild and crazy. And you're like, oh, when you realize, like, oh no, this is just a communication apparatus to speak across time and space to other people and how we go about our business of fucking kids. You're like, oh, okay, this makes a lot more sense than just whatever that woo-woo shit was. I forgot what my point was, but just the concept of a cult, and just kind of like once you see through it, you're like, oh, this is so fucking simple. And I think that's kind of what I was driving at with like the concept of like the court cases with like Michael Jackson and stuff like that.
No, it provides a new perspective, the occult or esoteric understanding of these events, right?
Mm-hmm. So I have to say, like, and by the way, it was the Hermes Foundation or some shit that was the Hermes publication that was advertising the Delta Project whenever John David Norman was in prison. But I want to ask JJ about the John Paul Raniere potential connection to Jeffrey Dahmer and the Pope, right? And dude, so just the fact that do you think the Hand of Death cult was just another offshoot of the process? Because that's kind of like what it sounds like. Obviously the children were the 22 disciples from hell, and then the Hand of Death comes up basically as an offshoot of the process in a way with not only Dahmer but obviously Henry Lee Lucas, and that's how it's been sort of described in many ways. Often.
For sure.
Right.
No, I think there's a good argument there, and I don't look at necessarily as an offshoot, but more as the assassin department or wing of this operation, right? And I think Henry Lee Lucas was put out as almost like a disinformation campaign, like kind of a limited hangout campaign on the matter, because right at the same time he's doing that, the man that I assert is kind of the general of that operation of that network of assassins. There was a man by the name of Edward Wayne Edwards. He was getting out of prison at the very same time he had done a stint for arson. At the very same time he's getting out is when Lucas starts doing that. And I think it's to distract from him, because the reason why he was in prison for arson, because he burned a home in Pennsylvania. And in that home, they found a Marietta. This is 1983. They found a Marietta Police Department sergeant's uniform, because he had just infiltrated the Atlanta child killing task force as the Marietta police sergeant. And when the FBI arrested him in April of '83 for that arson fire he had just done in February of '83, and he didn't burn the uniform, it's in the investigatory reports. They arrested him at the home of a Marietta police sergeant. Now, that sergeant never got held accountable or was said it was his uniform, but let's be honest about the situation.
Right. What do you make of the Wayne Williams and his father, who they were clearly, his father was a part of that child care or that youth organization, but seemingly had at the very least been a photographer for the network in some sort of way, and potentially recruited Wayne, but they were like caught, at least seen by witnesses, burning a lot of evidence, and even arson took place at one of the properties as well. But it was like they were seen burning negatives, right? Which they believe to be, of course, like potentially child pornography negatives and 8mm film strips and things of that nature. And so, yeah, I just think that clearly there was so much covering of their tracks that was being facilitated at the time. And so I think that more than one individual were clearly on the task of attempting to facilitate that cover up. And it seems like even with the Mitch WerBel connection to those strange mercenaries from his Cobra Academy, just suddenly showing up in Atlanta to conduct these weird searches and shit like that, and conduct investigations on their own. Like, what was happening? Because it seems like just after this, they plan a football stadium there, and the entire neighborhood's just destroyed, basically. It seems like, and so it really didn't take long, you know.
Well, I got so many responses to that, Austin. You make some great points, and I could take it back to the Nuwaubians with the whole Lake Lanier connections to the child killings. There was numerous children seen on Lake Lanier. After that, the Nuwaubians have been connected to what I would assert is human sacrifices on Lake Lanier, because that's an old mound site. But regarding the spooky stuff, Mitch WerBel and everything else like that, relative to these circumstances, you know, I think that's why we don't hear about it, right? You look at the process connections of like Cocaine Bob Evans, the legendary Hollywood producer. He was real tight with Henry Kissinger for years. Kissinger's one of the few people in the last 70 years since the National Security Act of, or 70 years, the National Security Act of 1947, 70 plus years now. You know, everything since then, free speech has been eradicated in America. And, you know, we have a few people stamping things national security. Well, one of those few people over that time was Henry Kissinger, right? He's tight with the process end of Bob back, you know, the early onset, late 60s and early 70s of the process activities in America. You look at Kissinger's associate, his vice president of Kissinger and Associates, his right-hand man was a Major General, retired Air Force, Brent Scowcroft. Old school Mormon family, from Mormons from Kanab, and there's a lot more to that tale, I think, where the best friends are at today. But Scowcroft's assistant
was Scowcroft not. I'm almost positive that either Marion Petty or his brother were drivers at a certain point.
For Scowcroft, right?
Yeah, dude.
Right. No, you're right. No, you're right. Yeah, out of DC there at Fort Myers. You know?
Oh, right.
Oh, they were drivers for a very important person. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Marion Petty was.
Really?
Yeah, he drove generals. Yeah.
Oh, almost like a point I've been making for months now.
Game caller of the Finders. Like, that is so crazy, man.
So if you look at Scowcroft's activities, he would later go, I mean, he's much like Kissinger, he's the national security advisor for numerous presidents, right? And it's not just, they do the Republican side, but Brzezinski's, you know, an underling for the Democratic side of national security advisors. He's the underling of Kissinger, so it's the same team. In fact, Brzezinski's underling would also be supporting the Neo process today, and that's a different story. But the fact that Scowcroft's assistant, J.J. Bryan, who would leave Scowcroft's duty as assistant, I think in circa 2006, go do some spook activities. I believe it was in Libya, gets busted and somehow walks. Then he comes back to America and starts these art galleries called the Victorian Art Galleries, which is out of these art galleries in Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and DC. Victorian, yes, sir.
Okay.
He's running a Neo process cult out of there. The whole logo is the process logo, right? Everything in there is process.
Vectors.
Right? Yeah, he has. They have their own theology and religion of this Victorianism. They have their own alien overlord called. I get my alien overlords mixed up, but they have their own alien. Oh, Alan. Theirs is Alan. It's an acronym for something, though.
Alan.
Brian's a character. He had a band there also in his studio there in a band there in his gallery, the official band of their cult, and it was the La Biancas. And their hit single was Charles Manson is Jesus Christ. So this is how processing they are. This was Scowcroft's right hand man. He goes and starts this. So you see this, 60 or 50 year span already, at least identifiable, right, of processing activities with the upper echelon of national security, and we wonder why we don't know about these things today.
Right. No doubt, man. That is no, that's amazing. You got to come back and actually.
You got to come back on, brother.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm always happy to talk about these subjects, and I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, Austin. You got my wheels turned on so many of these subjects for sure.
Dude, I had the best time. Any time that, obviously, like I said, man, I get so excited, and I love these opportunities to have conversations with people who have so much of a depth of knowledge and but also are just, when you meet people who are on the same frequency and you seem to think in a very similar way, and conversations become far more easy, far easier in those terms. And I can't be more grateful and appreciate you more, brother. So honestly, man, that was a lot of fun. I had a great time.
I appreciate the conversation as well. It's great stuff. So what are your all thoughts on Wesley Snipes' connections to that Nuwaubian stuff?
Oh, man.
We look at all this Hollywood, everyone thinks Hollywood's into cults. Well, here's a great example, right? I mean, he financed that cult.
Dude, it just reminded me, I mean, obviously this is far different, but the Grace Kelly connection to the OTS, and there's just so many different aspects of like celebrity culture where they consistently, isn't that a crazy one, right? Where they're like, they basically initiate her through this like sexual orgasm that they're placing like acupuncture needles on her meridian points, and and then of course Joseph DeMambro is just consistently asking for money. I think is basically what led her to begin to question. That's the narrative, but who knows? The fact of the matter is, when her car and the tragic car accident, and her car happens to land in the backyard of another member of the OTS, come on now. That's a little strange, right? And so definitely it feels like there seems to be this strange. I just think that there's a lot more initiations happening within these secret fraternal organizations on a very much a daily basis, and it's far more well established than we would ever imagine. Like this came up in the terms of Pizzagate. Whenever I realized that they had these private restaurants where they had contracts with these morgues, dude, and they're legitimately being like they're distributing like human body parts and like to these private restaurants, and you have like Katy Perry and people of like these celebrities who are legitimately on the guest list of these restaurants, who are serving like I forget what like the human heart was actually legitimately one of the it was a delicacy that was on the menu, and I forget how it was served, but it's like the fact of the matter is there is far more organ harvesting being conducted than many people realize in terms of the enterprise as well. And I think I'm beginning to realize how wide scoped if you're a sociopathic maniac who's willing to go to such sadistic depravity, depraved lengths and extents to sort of like achieve whatever sexual proclivity you desire, why would you stop at? Right.
And if it goes unchecked, and if it's powerful, backed by power, money, and the spooky network, what's going to stop it?
What's going to stop it? Yeah. And then when that's how it does feel like in no way I consistently steer away from the black pill, but we have to, at the very least, acknowledge that we seem to be surrounded by this unfortunate, unaccountable, sort of just bureaucratic aristocracy that is clearly insulated from any real accountability, and obviously practicing some strange neo-pagan new age cult ideologies, and they seem to be far more overrepresented in these areas of directly being in arm's reach of sort of the levers of power. That is basically undeniable at this point, right?
I don't disagree. That's a good way to put it.
Occult rituals on a daily basis during PSYOP season. I saw, Jose, you named one of your episodes Gladio season. I mean, all these false flags. It feels like the strategy of tension is just being utilized at every moment.
This free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine, free Palestine. You're like, okay, I get it. I get what you're doing here. Free Palestine, I get it. Pew pew, free Palestine. Pew pew, free Palestine. Like, I get it. I get what the word association you're trying to do here. I'm not even a lefty that really isn't attached to that phrasing, but it's like, I see what you're doing here. Yeah. You're taking a pretty innocuous, a concept of freedom, a region. I'll say it's a little bit base because you're not accepting their property claim of Israel, but I don't know. There's ways to accept this isn't a call to violence, and now being repeatedly over and over again being used in violent acts. we see what's going on here.
Oh,
It's
man.
pretty,
I know,
it's pretty
right?
obvious.
Well, and
So
what's
obvious.
up with the what's up with all the like Hitler's a good guy stuff being pushed in the
Hitler
algorithms
bros.
now?
Well, have you really took the moment to really think about it from his perspective? I don't think you really have.
You son of a bitch. Oh man, that's the main reason I called him potentially a mind-controlled male prostitute, because I do think that it's like, you can't just instinctually react, just like, or you have to at the very least remove yourself from the equation as much as you possibly can, and think as objectively as you're capable of, because that's where you find yourself locked in an ideological prison, unbeknownst to you, practicing these very dystopian beliefs and facilitating the very agenda you should reject and resist. And I think that is like, just how often are we consistently witnessing this recycled, it's just, I don't know, man. Like,
that's a great point. And you all were talking about the Diddy trial earlier, and we're experiencing these recycled events because the things never stop, right? We were just saying, and with the Diddy trial, I think it's a good example. So I call that connected to what I like to call Idaho Contra, which is the extension of Iran Contra that never stopped because no one was held accountable. And we're seeing it erupt kind of again in the same fashion, where it's erupting to the public, perspective, like it did with Iran Contra, inadvertently through a series of mishaps, I believe is how that goes. But nonetheless, feuding forces to some regard that have caused that. But we see these things erupting, and we see these weird circumstances where all of a sudden Mike Myers, the CIA dude, and Diddy sitting in a jail cell with Sam Bankman-Fried, and they both have the same attorneys, and they're both connected to Idaho, where Sam Bankman-Fried was running this weird cash for crypto money laundering operation just north of the college campuses, where there was this weird murder that occurred a few days after that he filed bankruptcy, and the whole world learned that he was running this money laundering operation.
And he was recruited by a spook in the first place.
Wasn't a shitload of the money going to Ukraine? Wasn't that what a shitload
Lots
of money
of it,
was going?
dude. He's got so much stuff, right?
Yeah. Then we got all these drone shit going on right now. Like,
oh my god, we got it at some point. But have you heard of this one dude? There's one last thing I wanted to mention because I found this insane. Was this guy who assumed the identity of Clark Rockefeller, claimed that he was a member of the noted Rockefeller family.
Yeah, for decades, right?
Dude. His name was Christian Karl Gerhardtstreiter, and was this German convicted murderer and alleged imposter. But
cool fucking
I
name,
couldn't,
though.
Dude, I couldn't believe it, because apparently this is prosecutors in the Son of Sam case. This was insane, because they basically made a claim that accused this kidnapper, Clark Rockefeller, aka Christian Gerhardtstreiter, who they claim he once used the social security number of convicted serial killer David Berkowitz.
Oh, I did not know that. Get out of town, dude. That's wild. Because he was living in Westchester at one point in time. Rockefeller was. Holy shit.
That just blew me away.
That's
man.
Interesting. That's very interesting.
And no one confirmed or denied that it was actually the son of Sam, David Berkowitz. But this was.
They're not going to, right?
No, they're not going to.
That's awesome. I have to look more into that. I appreciate your all's time, and we'll have to link up again to schedule some more of these conversations for sure, fellas. But if I can leave you all with one note on Westchester, you all know the new U.S. District Attorney, U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia that Trump appointed, Jeanine Pirro, the former Fox News lady.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You know where she got her start?
Where was it?
Deputy prosecuting attorney for the criminal cases of the Westchester County Prosecutor's Office during the Son of Sam cases.
Son of a bitch.
So. And then she starts the first rape and child sexual abuse unit, I believe, in 1980, out of that Westchester County Prosecutor's Office. So she's got an interesting background, that lady.
Very much. That's fascinating.
Well, all right. It sounds like you're trying to get out of here. We are at an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I guess we kind of.
I appreciate. Yeah, I appreciate all the time and the invite to join you. I tuned in. I was working on a couple things, and I wanted to. Y'all were talking my language. So I couldn't not join you.
Oh, for sure. Definitely join. We'll have to have you like as the guest one of these days. That's something we've been telling ourselves we're going to do, is actually start to refocus the show to be more of like a guest show. But we keep forgetting to book guests still. So
Well,
maybe
I've tried. I've tried to book someone for the last few weeks on short notice, but it hasn't worked out.
Well, it's the same one over and over again. It's also a guest that, like, I mean, I can get at any time. I don't know why you're DMing him. It's a guy I do a regular show with. You could just tell me I can get him.
Jules, reach out to you, man. I enjoyed your conversation with us on the Occult Rejects the other day for sure. So yeah.
Oh man, I didn't say shit, JJ.
Now,
it was
kept
great
coming in there and trying
down.
to a couple of times. You were cracking me up though with your comments.
It was good to sit down and hear that guy talk, and I'd love to pick his brain about his other book he wrote, The Druid Code.
Sure, tough to get a word in edgewise with him though, but he was an interesting character, Thomas Sheridan, right?
Thomas Sheridan, yeah, no, he really was, and he explained the traits of a psychopath all too well. That's,
you were trying to make a couple comments a couple times. He just wasn't.
Yeah, I
having
couldn't
it,
get
right?
a word in with
like,
Ricardo, man. He was tearing it up, which I get it.
And I was trying
Thomas
to do the same thing. That was funny to me.
Kind of lagging a little bit on his end, so like I just kept my mouth shut and listened and learned a few things. But it was nice. It was good to meet him, and I love whenever y'all have me on, man. So
that's awesome.
We gotta do more of them.
Yeah, for sure. No, like I said, I was trying to get a couple words in there too, so I was cracking up when you were experiencing the same kind of problems there. When we were both trying to get some comments in there and whatnot. So, now it's awesome stuff. No, we'll definitely link up, have some schedule some more stuff for sure. I appreciate the time, fellas.
Hell yeah, man. Well, I appreciate your time. We'll let you go. Jacob, you got anything? Otherwise, I mean, I'm in no rush. I'm not trying to rush anyone out, but we were kind of at a perfect hour and a half. Feel like we kind of came to a natural resting point. I guess we could talk about I mean, or I can save it for my morning show. I don't care. I know, Austin, you really want to talk about the Russia stuff, so I don't know. It's your call.
Like 2 weeks.
We could do plugs, or we could tag. That's up to you. I don't care.
Dude, it's fine. I mean, that would legit. I could. I don't know. It would at least take me 15 minutes.
Yeah,
for sure.
I'll cover the morning show, guys. Pop in the morning show. We'll cover the latest on everything that's going on. I'll be there tomorrow. I wasn't there today. I had a lot of craziness going on. I dropped like 10K on a fucking AC unit today and did a bunch of other shit. So fun times. So please give me money.
Oh my god.
But Jacob, I guess you're here. We fucking get a plug. Let people know where to find you at. We'll go ahead and get out of here. Austin, you're coming back on Thursday, I think, for another Dutro episode.
Dude,
so
we might legit have to reschedule it only because I'm so desperate to get my episode finished by this weekend. Like, dude, no, that's not it. I want to refocus and legitimately dive back into the Dutro case at a level that I feel it deserves. And when I'm trying to get this out, I just give me.
We'll push it back
time. That way, I legitimately get.
I have
this
like
done.
5 other solo episodes that I could do that I'm working on right now. So we're
Thank
good.
you. Yeah,
you guys will get another one of my Wendy painting deep dives that I'm doing right now. The first one should come out for the public. I think you're on Monday, but I have like 3 already behind the paywall. So for those who are interested, digging into some of her new research, it's definitely not for someone who's just casually interested in the Oklahoma City bombing. That's got to be somebody who's like, that's their shit. So it's quite the deep dive. But Jacob, where can people find you at, bud?
Dude, hold on, Jacob. Jacob, hold on, dude. No, I gotta say that this is crazy. All right, I have one more thing I totally forgot, and this is brief. Oh, and by the way, was that Milo tweet legit?
Is it brief?
About Glenn Greenwald?
Yeah.
I get a bunch of tweets. He's been just flaming Glenn. So I don't know.
The Rio Male Escorts one about Glenn. I thought that was crazy.
Looking a little sketch,
man.
Dude.
Right? But
I even jokingly said when this all popped off that I think, I kind of joke like it wouldn't be funny if you did this to hype the fucking Tucker interview, but it's also like,
right.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised. You got to think, what was the context? What was the video? The video was fucking Glenn Greenwald on his fucking knees getting spit on and sucking the feet of a black dude. It's like, that's some humiliation.
That was the video? I didn't watch it.
That was,
God.
hey, I got to do my research for the show.
I saw someone tweet. Can we all agree that
it's humiliation. It's humiliation.
Oh,
and it gets posted on Twitter.
Definitely humiliation ritual.
So I'm not saying, obviously it looks like a blackmail, like the Jays dropped it or some shit, but it's also just as likely that it could have just been some cheap thrill from Glenn to be like, since clearly that's what gets his fucking rocks off.
could have been kinky
humiliation.
for him, yeah.
Is
Yeah.
like, oh, if I put this out, especially at this point in time, you're like, I bet you I could get away with it. I can't imagine a bigger thrill if you were into that. Like, I'm gonna drop this and like, I think I might be able to slide. People are gonna run to my fucking like, oh, I love this guy, he's so great. Meanwhile, you're dropping videos you can spit on by dudes.
Right. For real though. I mean, that just it did blow my mind. Like if that was happening, and obviously it's strange. First of all, I just think it's very strange for gay men to adopt.
I mean, as I said when I covered it on the morning show the other day,
weird for gay dudes to adopt young little boys.
Gay dudes are weird, dude. I'm sorry, they just are.
Strange.
Gay's weird.
It's fucking crazy.
You're putting your peener in poop. That's what you're doing, dude.
Yeah,
you are. You're putting your peener in poop.
Right.
It's weird. It's weird. It's gross.
What, butt sex?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it just is. It's weird. It's gross.
And
just in general, not even without dudes. Just gross.
Even with No,
it's
me and
gross,
my wife
dude.
never into that.
You're gross. You're icky.
Always use a
Gross.
condom if you do.
God frowns on you.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of adopting, strange adoptions that have occurred. So I didn't realize this, but apparently Amy Coney Barrett, that obvious, strangely utilized asset during the Brett Kavanaugh appointment hearings, right? Where I got thrown onto a bed and no one can remember. You remember? And that was basically the narrative. Well, it turns out that her and her husband, they adopted 2 children from Haiti. Okay. And one of Amy Coney Barrett's children was reportedly adopted from the New Life Children's Refuge, the NLCR, founded by Laura Silsby.
Wow. Oh, I thought you were about to like really sell it and be like, "That's where Glenn Greenwald got his children from." I was like, "Holy fuck!"
But founded by Laura Silsby, right? Who was?
I mean, yeah, that one's wild too. But I thought that I really thought you were about to thread it. I thought you were about to bring it full circle.
Yep.
No, I don't have that.
That goes back to the Clintons.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. And so it directly implicates the Clintons. It directly involves this obvious child trafficking operation that was being conducted. And then she's brought back, obviously, put on the Amber Alert system. So the fact of the matter is that worth mentioning that obviously that one of these strangely associated individuals like an Amy Coney Barrett was adopting children with her husband from Haiti and from Laura Silsby's foundation in particular.
Which,
anyway.
By the way, on the Glenn thing, I think what you were getting at is what Milo was claiming was. I mean, there was a few things I think Milo posted, but the one a lot of people are getting up about is that it looks like his husband may have been some sort of male escort or something beforehand, some sort of 20-something. Yeah, that right there. And so it looks like that was his husband, and so that he like basically groomed.
Why'd you have to blow it up?
Dude, I'm sorry, man.
Rio gay guys.
Yeah, so it's
but this is strange. Orientation, gay kissing, French masturbation.
Oh my God, Glenn G.
Wait, what's French masturbation?
I don't know. I didn't know
about
this.
Did you say French masturbation?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to know what that is.
Dude, I kind of do, but I don't know.
No.
I don't want to try it or anything. Nothing like that.
All right. Yeah, he literally used his email address. That's interesting.
Isn't
it? All right. And then and then later that husband that he was slinging the butthole around to other, tourists in I don't know,
being
Brazil.
a man, you're not.
They end up having a kid later.
Dick. You're just slinging ass.
Oh yeah, for sure. But this was the one. I thought it was very interesting that Richard tweeted about Randy Weaver, right? And basically Kevin Harris maybe potentially not actually killing William Deegan, who obviously Kevin Harris was Randy's friend and was at the but clearly they claim that it was Kevin who fired the death shot right into William Deegan. And it seems as if this was potentially some sort of like friendly fire operation where they then blamed Kevin, who was never efficiently charged for that killing, obviously, which is very important as well. But the fact of the matter is, like, listen to what she says. It's very short, but it's like this is crazy stuff to me. that it's, but it's par for the course. So this is Randy Weaver's sister, I believe.
No, that's
Okay.
his daughter.
Yeah.
That's his daughter.
That's his daughter.
Is it the daughter that wrote the book with him? Because I thought for some reason
he had 2 daughters, right?
Yep. Or
okay.
no,
let me
had
pull
a
it real
son,
quick.
had an older daughter, and
then the son, and then
the
a little
younger
baby daughter.
that his wife was holding.
Right.
Right.
So,
But
so 2 girls and 1 boy.
Right. Okay.
It confused me because she says her brother in this clip. So, but we'll watch it.
Marshall that passed away.
I think she did.
And that's heartbreaking to me as well, is that it was never proven who actually killed him, which is also heartbreaking to me in a lot of ways, because I guess there's not a lot of closure there either. During the trial, Jerry Spence was, and it was actually during the trial, they were looking at a backpack that he had been wearing, and they found a bullet in his backpack. I was told that the submachine gun that they'd been given to take out the dog was silenced. And so, you know, you can speculate all day long. I feel like if it would have been on the side of my family, they would have proved who actually did kill him. And had it been Kevin, I don't think Kevin would be a free man right now. Had it been my brother, I think they would have fully pinned it on my brother.
Yeah.
But there's still I don't have closure on that part.
So friendly fire is a completely plausible theory.
I mean, you said it.
Yeah, so that doesn't surprise me.
That's a wonderful interview, by the way. The whole thing. Did
you watch it?
Oh yeah, the whole interview is amazing.
What is this show? I don't even know those people.
I can't remember. I'll find it and send it to you.
Yeah, please
I think
do.
that's like the biggest show that they've ever done. But
yeah, I'm sure. That blew me away, though. It didn't. I mean, it's not at all surprising considering how the case went, trial ensued. Obviously, after the fact, which was just a mockery. But still, the fact of the matter is that she would kind of put it in those terms. I think it's important to know what they're capable of, right? And I wouldn't at all be surprised if they sort of sacrificed Bill Deegan to, kind of escalate what was potentially going to happen at Ruby Ridge during that siege and standoff. It wasn't, but anyway, very interesting to me. I thought it was worthwhile.
So it's actually a show called New World, Old Soul.
Okay.
Well, all right, you guys ready to get on out of here? I think probably a natural place to go ahead and crush. Hey, we're just a natural termination point. I think that's I don't know. We could sit here and just talk to just
fucking with
him. Yeah, Jacob, you want to let people know where they can find you?
Yeah, the best place to find me is anywhere at Rise to Liberty, risetoliberty.com or risetoliberty.com/links, and you can find all my platforms.
Just go yell that in a field somewhere. Appreciate you joining us, Jacob.
And we'll get up, Jacob.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to schedule that, man.
Yeah. All right. Austin, or actually Jules.
I was just saying, I think we're going to do a show together. Guys, Gray Pilled Pod on X, Gray Pilled _podcast on Instagram, Rumble, YouTube, Spotify, all that good stuff. Like the video, share it if you want. Go to Patreon. I'm over on Patreon where we just finished up watching Twin Peaks season 1, started season 2. It's a good time. You'll get some free sticker packs. I'm sending those out this week to all my patrons. And yeah, don't have any shows playing. Got an Elohim etymology dropping this week. Also, probably we'll be doing another one this weekend. Doing a deep dive on tulpas soon. Tulpas and servitors and astral thought forms, a bunch of cool shit. So just stay on the lookout. And thank you all for watching Already Dead. Go to toplobster.com and buy some Already Dead merch. Support us.
Awesome.
Support the brand. Great show, guys.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, brother.
So I'm just all the way in, down the rabbit hole over here. So I'm hoping to crawl out of that by the end of the week, right? Obviously by the weekend, I'm hoping to finally have this next solo project done so I can be on the other side of it and then I can kind of refocus, because again, I feel like it takes most of my brain capacity whenever I'm getting toward the end of these, but yeah, so I'm excited for that. And then we can kind of re-engage with the Dutroux affair. And I think that's going to be pretty extraordinary, as far as even more things that aren't surprising in terms of that network. But yeah, anyway, beyond that, man, I'm just trying to sort of be a lot more, I don't know, because I think that it definitely has an effect, right? There's a sort of like dark cloud that will you won't be quite aware of until it's set in a little bit and lingered for too long. But I do think it's just important to remind ourselves, man, how beautiful the world truly is. Like, we just have to prioritize seeing it that way, right? It's a choice you have to make in many ways, and like I have to embrace pressure with enthusiasm, and like realize that, like, no, it's not anxiety, it's excitement. Like, this is a mentality. This is something that you have to embrace and like pursue at a principled level. And like, when it comes to the emotional toll of some of these cases and some of these stories and the intricate details and being overexposed, it's worthwhile in the end, right? Because in reality, it should really just compartmentalize and put things into perspective, as far as like how blessed we are, how grateful we truly should be. Because my God, you look at the plight, right, and the unfortunate circumstances of so many people who've had a much worse hand as far as they've been dealt a much more difficult hand, and so who am I, right? And so anyway, I appreciate you guys, man. I love you guys, and I'm glad that we can kind of come together and share these like-minded ideas, so I don't continue to embrace them at this darker level, and I kind of can pivot back to the light and spy, right, in a certain way, and bring some sort of much needed it's just, if I didn't have the ability, right, the outlet to sort of come back down to earth, you can very easily start to lose yourself in the dark.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah, man. So I love you guys, man. And you guys all know, follow me, the Underclass Podcast, best place to support me, Patreon. And we should be doing another whatever this is, in the next couple of days, if not tonight. So
hell yeah, brother.
I'm also on Locals, guys.
Yeah. For those who want to support what I'm doing, if you don't want to chip in a buck, you can like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. All those actions go a long ways and don't cost you a single buck. But if you do want to directly support the show in the best way you really can, go over to patreon.com/nowayjose2020. The lowest level is $2. That will give you access to early episodes. I'm doing 1 to 2 a week these days. The paywalled episodes, and usually keeping about 4 or so behind the paywall. So you got weeks of content there. You're also getting an ad-free RSS feed, and on top of all that, you get access, or you get access to the you get priority for the call-ins for Already Dead, which is the show we do every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. And so you also can get access to the pre-show too. You hang out with us before. So, great value just for $2. But the highest level is my sponsors, my Patreon sponsors, and I give them a big shout out every episode as a thank you. And my co-host and Tower Gang at Tower Gang Toad, also at @BrigadeDs, at ZOVRECK, at _InfitZeal, Tim Tuttle at John Klebold, WerBel, Delicious Blueberry Rowdy Wine, big fan of the show, Torn Maine, and then Jordan Peterson. And with that, guys, we're going to head and go get out of here. Love you all. I will see you all tomorrow, who show up to the morning dump at 10 a.m. Eastern. With that, we're out of here. Deuces.